is the Celebrity Afterlife Report podcast.
Hello and welcome once again to the Celebrity Afterlife Report. I am the celebrity medium. I've got a bunch of gossip about your favorite deceased celebs to pass on to you. So let's dive right into the deep end of the pool. I mentioned this on the report in the past, but it's been a while, so I think it bears repeating. People in the next world are generally aware of what's going on the earthly plane. Some of the celebrities there have opinions about things in our world and aren't shy about expressing them. One of my best afterlife paparazzi sources was staking out the sidewalk outside of P.T. Barnum's restaurant/entertainment complex recently when Judy Garland, the star of The Wizard of Oz, a woman who was never reticent about speaking her mind, came up to him. According to my source, Ms. Garland had a lot to say about earthly plane superstar Katy Perry. She said that Katy is, quote, dressing and acting like a clown, and that she is, quote, a bad example to young girls. According to Judy, Katy is a talented singer and doesn't need the gimmicks. She said that Katy needs to stick to the basics if she wants to have a long career. My source says that Garland was quite animated while she was talking, seemed very passionate about her opinion of Katy Perry. I don't know if Katy is a listener to the Celebrity Afterlife Report, but if any of you are in contact with her, you might want to pass this story along to her for her consideration. With Andy Griffith's passing over a while back, almost the entire cast of his legendary TV show is now reunited in the next world. The one exception is Ron Howard, who played Sheriff Andy's son, Opie. He is still alive and working in show business on the earthly plane, as you probably know. A while back, I reported that when Mr. Griffith arrived in the afterlife, his co-star Don Knotts, Deputy Barney Fife, was there to greet him. As I reported at the time, the two had a tear-filled reunion. Now, that was all I knew then, but I now have some details to tell you about. According to a Next World source close to the story, soon after Andy's arrival, the two old friends had a meeting at an out-of-the-way restaurant. Don suggested to Andy that they start putting together a new version of their old show set in a time frame where Opie has gone off to college, which would explain Ron Howard's absence from the cast. My source says that while Andy liked the idea, he had to make up an excuse about why he didn't think they should do it. Okay, here's the inside scoop. The real reason Andy didn't want to go forward with the show was that since they last saw each other on the earthly plane, Don Knotts has become something of an exercise nut in the afterlife. Because of a daily regimen of working out, he has bulked up considerably and looks almost nothing like he did in his days in Mayberry. Andy didn't have the heart to tell his pal, who is obviously very proud of his new physique, that he simply didn't think the audience would accept the newly buffed Knotts as the famously scrawny deputy sheriff. We've been following the story of the next world's hottest couple, Abe Lincoln and Whitney Houston, for some time now. Last week I told you about a public argument the two had over the former president's habit of referring to Whitney as a charming negress, a term which would have been a compliment during Mr. Lincoln's time on Earth. Now, Whitney told him in no uncertain terms that she would not tolerate him ever using that phrase again. Honest Abe promised to try to remember to not use it again. In the face of that spat, many in the next world speculated that the two would be splitsville soon. Well, I'm happy to report that not only have they not split, but things seem to be better than ever between them. This past Saturday, August 9, was Whitney's 51st birthday, and Mr. Lincoln surprised her at her birthday party by presenting her with an engagement ring with what has been described to me as a huge rock on it. Whitney was completely taken by surprise and burst into tears as he asked her to marry him. All right, I won't keep you in suspense any longer. She said yes. It looks as if the most unusual couple I've reported on so far is headed for the altar. Before we go over this week, I have an unusual story to report. Yeah, I know, like pretty much every story I report on is an unusual. One of my most trusted sources tells me that he was buttonholed by none other than Walt Disney recently. I'm informed that Mr. Disney told my source that he wanted to set the record straight about whether he was cryogenically frozen after death once and for all. Uncle Walt asked my source to pass along the information that he was actually cremated 2 days after his death, and his ashes were interred at Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Glendale, California. Now, the site is marked and open for the public to visit, according to Mr. Disney, so any skeptics in the audience can check this information out for themselves. Mr. Disney said that he has been irritated by the rumors surrounding his current location, and that he hoped my reporting this would put an end to them once and for all. Okay, that's going to do it for this episode of the Celebrity Afterlife Report. Please come back next week as we once again report on the doings of all your favorite deceased celebrities. I am the Celebrity Medium. Thanks for listening.
You've been listening to the Celebrity Afterlife Report podcast. To ask a question about your favorite deceased celebrity, call 818-3-MY-DREAM. 818-3-MY-DREAM. 818-369-3732.